Hi, my name is Annabelle Charles. I'm a dietetic intern with Emory. I am here to speak about my interaction that I had with an older Italian couple where the husband was getting a kidney transplant and just the everything I learned and the cultural interaction I had with them is what I wrote about in my case study. So, just to reflect a little bit about everything that happened. Um, so I feel like something that I could have changed in the interaction with the patient is I realized when I was speaking with the couple, the wife was doing most of this talking as the caregiver, but I wish I would have directed more questions towards the husband to kind of get his perspective about his diet and his lifestyle behaviors instead of just kind of hearing the wife's perspective of that, even though she was the one doing most of the cooking. I still think it's important to get um, the true perspective of the patient. Um, and then I also felt like there was a few power imbalances that I noticed. I think just with age, and this might be my own personal um, perspective in my head, but I feel like with age, sometimes it can be a little intimidating talking to older patients, just because I'm only 22, the patient was in his 60s. So I think stereotypically, you might feel that we're not capable to educate patients just because they lived so much more life than we have. But I guess just one thing I learned is having confidence in myself, knowing that I've been studying this for a long time and I am capable, to provide that education. Um, and then also I remember when I just looked up his chart, like that's the first time seeing him. His BMI indicated that he was obese, and it showed up in like a red marking with an exclamation point, and and then also obviously because of his condition, it's diet related. So I think these things kind of led me to maybe make judgments about his eating past and um, kind of like what he's been through without really knowing his social history and his other environmental factors. So I think um, just as a dietetic student, being cognizant of like weight stigmas and just understanding that everybody comes in different shapes and sizes is something to be always thinking about and something that I learned um, in this interaction and as well in my other lectures. Um, and then also, I feel like I obviously learned about um, just kind of like traditional interaction between like a husband and a wife. I personally grew up in a single parent household, so um, the way that the wife kind of spoke on behalf of her husband, almost like they were one person. I think that was an interesting thing for me to kind of navigate. And I feel like that's kind of why I was okay with just speaking to the wife. But, and then also just learning about, she explained like her farm that she had and the fresh eggs. So like learning a little bit about farm culture and a little bit about like Italian foods. Some of the foods he mentioned, were like the crackers and like the cheese he was eating. Um, And then also I realized they were speaking to me. They were like very um, playful and like very excited, and they kind of had an elevated tone. And I realized myself that I was kind of opening up and being almost like matching the energy in the room and kind of getting comfortable with them. And I realized kind of how impressionable I can be to when speaking with people. And I feel like that can kind of play into a positive or a negative. In this sense, it was positive, but um, just being kind of cognizant of how my surroundings are impacting me. Um, but I think in all, those are all the things that I learned from this experience. And one thing I would say, I would like to see the healthcare environment be more prepared and more open to speaking about cultures. The only reason I found out they were Italian was because I remembered in my world nutrition class, they said if you ever wanted to know like where somebody's from, you could say like, oh, I hear an accent. Um, where are you from? So that's what I said, and that's how I was able to get a little bit more information from them. But I do think there's not enough tools to kind of navigate questions about culture or even really address um, like different um, like cultural environments that other people have came from. So I think in the healthcare field there should be a little bit more education and tools about that. But thank you for listening.